Oh, there it is. Okay, thanks for being here, guys. Do me a favor and let me know if you guys can hear this live stream. I'm going to play a little bit of system audio. Let me know if you can hear me and hear system audio. That would be a 5x5.
That every day in our country.
Can you hear Camel Toe there? What's up, John Eagle? Ali Bell is here. SFC. Jenny is here. Jeff O'Donnell. BIP Solar Bear. You can hear it. Okay, good. Derek's here. Hey, thanks for joining. I don't usually do live streams this early in the day, but I saw this video and I wanted to cover it. And I also wanted to say, when you get involved in government and when you get involved in the political process and you label yourself a Democrat or a Republican, you automatically make yourself a hypocrite because you're going to be inconsistent. Your position, your political position is going to be inconsistent with your moral code or what is perceived as a moral code. It's going to violate principle. To be a Democrat or to be a Republican, you have to violate human codes, real human codes. And what I mean by that is you have to violate the you have to violate the NAP, the non-aggression principle. And by the way, non-aggression principle doesn't mean that you'll never be aggressive. It just means you'll be aggressive at the right time. For example, if you try to break into my house, I will be as aggressive as I need to be to protect my family. So the non-aggression principle doesn't mean that you're not going to be aggressive. You're just going to use the appropriate measure of aggression at the appropriate time and unleash it on the appropriate person in the appropriate amount. Maybe not even sometimes in the appropriate amount, but you will be doing the right things because you'll be operating from the platform of morality and protecting. When they say the non-aggression principle, it's the initiation of force and violence against peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. And that is what the government specializes in. That's what the corporately sponsored two-party system is all about, is initiating violence on people who do not want that violence into their lives, or coercion, or theft, or force, or brutality. That's why we're against bad cops. I mean, I need for somebody to prove to me there's such a thing as a good cop, but the reason we're against bad cops is because they violate rights, they steal property, they lie to you, they make false reports, they handcuff you, they kidnap you, they imprison you for no freaking reason other than you violated traffic code, or we're just here to uphold and enforce the positions of political parasites. So I wanted to go over this video with you. This comes from the YouTube channel. And I told you the other day, I'm going to go over this guy's video. It comes from Tennessee Brando, the Tennessee Brando channel. And I totally get it. You never argue with a fool because onlookers might not be able to tell a difference, but you should expose fools at every chance that you can possibly get. And that's why I love the internet, because the information that goes out over the internet is forever. And when these people say things, every time they open their mouths, they hang themselves. So I'm going to show you what he says about this. The name of his video is "I'm Enraged at MAGA's Heartless Reaction to Georgia Tragedy." But listen closely to what he says and see if you can pick up the hypocrisies and inconsistencies before I do. This is highly instructive.
Honest with you guys, when I got the news of what happened on Wednesday down in Georgia, I didn't make a breaking news video about it right away, and I didn't talk about it that day because I just needed time to wrap my mind around it and figure out how in the hell I was going to go about talking about this subject again. It gets so tiresome having to have this conversation. I'm a father of 5, and I have a grandson. 3 of my children have already graduated, but I've got 3 more to go, and I'm sure there'll be more grandkids in the future. So this is a battle that we're going to be in for the rest of our lives, unfortunately. And I say to myself, how do you go about talking about this again? Because it's just so tiresome. It truly is. And I think the way we talk about it is we realize what it is that we're up against. And when I say what we're up against, I don't mean the people that carries out these acts of violence. I'm talking about the people who sits on their hands and does absolutely nothing. They sit here, the people on the right, and they fan the flames, and they get everybody paranoid. Their message is nothing but fear and hate and cruelty. They get everybody so paranoid that they don't know what to do with their lives, and then they sit back when the shit hits the fan and say we can't do anything about it. It's just a fact of life. I think it's very important that we realize the type of people that we're truly up against. They're going to set back.
Let me just say this. You know, one of the most powerful things that you can do about it? If these things keep happening in gun-free public school zones, one of the most powerful things you can do outside of arming your teenager or arming the teachers is Don't let your kids go to public school, gun-free, fish in a barrel, criminal empowerment, victim creation zones. Doesn't that make sense? If you love your kids, you know that and he'll say this. If you love your kids, this is what they say. If you love your kids, you'll get rid of your guns. If you don't get rid of your guns, then you don't love your kids. It's this false dichotomy. It's like, what about the third possible option of I love my kids, therefore I have guns? Or I love my kids, therefore I wouldn't dare put them in the public school 15,000 hour indoctrination program. Now I understand that some people are up against the wall financially. They're in a hard position. Maybe a woman is raising her kids alone because the husband left, and she's got to work during the day, so she can't leave her kids home during the day. So they have, public school and all that. I'm sure that there are options through churches and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not coming down on people like that. I'm coming down on people like this who have the capability of homeschooling their kids, who have within their grasp the ability to keep them from going into these gun-free public fool kill zones. You can do something about that. But rather than doing something in their own lives where they actually have legitimate control over their own lives and their kids' lives, they want to exert control over you and say, okay, the remedy to this problem is I got to take away the guns of tens of millions of innocent Americans who didn't and never will commit a crime because of what this psycho, probably on big pharma medication, has done.
And they're not going to do a goddamn thing. And I know some people say, Brando, you shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain. Well, I think they take the Lord's name in vain every time they get up after one of these senseless tragedies and just offer us their thoughts and prayers. Brian Kemp down in Georgia, the governor, says, well, today's not the day to talk about policy. Let's just give them our thoughts and prayers.
Now keep in mind, he said that we're gonna go, let me kill this and then we'll skip over the ad. But keep in mind, he said that. And he's going to continue on with this thoughts and prayers thing. He's going to go, I don't want your thoughts and prayers. But Kamala is going to say, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And he's going to actually play the clip of Kamala. So here's Brian Kemp. Here's what he has a problem with Brian Kemp saying. And by the way, Brian Kemp is also a political joker. I don't care, Republican, Democrat. It doesn't matter to me. They're psychopathic parasites who want to make rules for the rest of us. And the more rules that they make, the less free we become.
Well, look, we've done a tremendous amount on school safety, but today is not the day for politics or policy. Today is the day for an investigation, to mourn these precious Georgians that we have lost, to thank the first responders that went, into the line of fire, the school staff, superintendent, the principal, and others that are just trying to hold this community together. That's what we need to be focused on right now. We also had a tragic loss of a firefighter in Greene County earlier today before this event happened with an explosion that killed the life of a first responder that, again, was running in to danger when many people were trying to run out. And that's what the focus needs to be on tonight. I would ask everybody to continue to keep this community, these victims, and these educators and these men and women in law enforcement in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
So my question is, when can we have that conversation? When will be a good time to have that? Oh, wait, we can't.
We're going to have it right now, Brando, Tennessee Brando. Matter of fact, Tennessee Brando, if you see this video, now this guy's got 300,000 subscribers and he gets millions upon millions of views. I can't even get 1,000 views on my channel. And, I'm nowhere close to his influence level. But Tennessee Brando, if you want, we can have an open live stream discussion, and you tell me how you want to institute these gun laws and what it actually means. Let's wipe away all the euphemisms. Let's strip it down to the bare bones and actually what you're calling for.
We can't, because you guys worship your guns more than you care about our children. You guys are
you worship your guns more than you care about your children. Now, that could be true in some people's case, but you can't broad brush that. And you can't just give us a false dichotomy, because that's being completely dishonest in any conversation.
Ones that put bandages on your ears to stand in solidarity with Donald Trump. But when it's a kid, you put the rifle pennant on and you stand with the rifle. So I guess we're never going to be able to have this conversation. And by the way, I don't want to be in your thoughts and prayers.
See, like the rifle pin. Yeah, I get it. I don't trust any politicians. I think the Band-Aid on the ear was totally stupid. Talk about letting people know that you're in the cult of personality. Just go ahead and put a Band-Aid on your ear because you believe the official story about what happened to your cult leader. I'm not just downing people who are following Trump. Same thing with Kamala Harris. You follow your cult leader, you Kamala Harris people. Same thing with Donald Trump. But the issue here is that he's trying to make a divide, and because there's nobody in the room to challenge him, And there is plenty of room to challenge this guy. And all you have to do is do it on the basis of morality and do to others what you would want done to you. And either this guy's not thinking, or he understands fully what he's saying and what he's propagating, and he's just going to go ahead and do it anyway because that's his bread and butter.
I understand that not everyone that says that is an asshole, but when MAGA says you're in our thoughts and prayers, I don't want to be in your thoughts.
By the
I
way,
don't want to be walking around in your brain.
By the way, I've got this set to 1.5 speed. If you guys want me to slow it down, let me know. He doesn't talk this fast. I usually set things to, generally 2 speed. I double the speed because, I got a lot of material to cover every day, and I don't have time to sit there and watch somebody just continue to stumble over the words. So if you guys want me to slow it down to like 1.25 or just regular speed, let me know.
Because you think it's okay for a man to go out and rape a woman and then defame her after the fact. You think it's okay for someone to overturn an election they knew they lost. You think it's okay to sick protesters on the counter.
I am going to go ahead and slow it down, just 1.25.
And beat police officers over the head. You think it's okay to mock the disabled, to mock the handicapped, to mock prisoners of war, to mock veterans, to use.
He's setting up a straw man for his argument.
Arlington Cemetery as a stage prop. I don't want to be walking around in your mind. I don't need to be in your thoughts. And I sure don't need you throwing up a prayer to me, because I imagine if there is a God in the sky, you would have to spend a whole lot of time getting right before he would ever listen to you. So don't worry about throwing anything up on my behalf. When this
guy's literally got, how many views does he have? He launched this 2 hours ago. He's already at 14,000 views. He's got 300,000 subscribers watching him.
I'm showing you guys the responses of MAGA is because I want you to understand that we're the adults in the room and understand what we're up against. Here's JD.
And the reason I'm showing you the responses of anti-MAGA, and I agree with him on some of this MAGA stuff. I mean, it is absolutely ludicrous. It's insane. They are drinking the Kool-Aid and the cult of personality, but he's no different. He's on the other side of the status road in a ditch, heading in the exact same direction as the MAGA that he claims to be exposing. So yeah, we're going to expose this guy too.
Vance saying, well, sorry guys, it's just a fact of life. Take a look at this stupidity.
Kamala Harris' answer to this is to take law-abiding American citizens' guns away from them. That is what Kamala Harris wants to do.
That's true. JD Vance is your enemy. JD Vance is being supported by the money of Peter Thiel. If you don't know who Peter Thiel is, check it out. And that's just one problem with JD Vance. He's a liar like they all are. So this isn't me being in the corner of JD Vance, but JD Vance has the capacity to tell the truth. And he just told the truth about what Kamala Harris intends to do on the heels of yet another school shooting.
Look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools so that a person who walks through the front door.
Anytime you ask the government to do anything on your behalf, you're asking them to steal more money from all the American people, even if it sounds like it's a good thing. We have to come to that conclusion right now. Bolster the schools. Well, that means funding. And where's that funding going to come from? Because the government is not going to cut other programs so they can scrape together the money so they can bolster the schools. That means they're going to dip more and more into your pocket. That means they're going to increase the federal government's power even more than it already has been.
We've got to bolster security so that if a psycho wants to walk through the front door and kill a bunch of children, they're not able to. And again, as a parent, do I want my kids' school to have additional security? No, of course I don't. I don't want my kids to go to school in a place where they feel like you've got to have additional security, but that is increasingly the reality that we live in.
First of all, I just want to say he is dead wrong when he says that Kamala Harris's answer to this is to come after law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights. That is not true, but that fear tactic right there is as old as I am. As long as I've been on this planet, I've heard Republicans saying that Democrats were going to take your guns, and it's never happened because that's not what we're about. What we're about is having some common sense. We're talking about weapons that can take away the lives of people in a matter of seconds.
You know what he just said? He said, we're not about taking your guns. We're about taking your guns. Let's listen to him again, because this is a talking point that they constantly use. Listen to this.
Have additional security, but that is increasingly the reality that we live in.
First of all, I just want to say he is dead wrong when he says that Kamala Harris's answer to this is to come after law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights.
That is her answer. She wants to institute assault weapons bans, high-capacity magazine bans. She wants to close the gun show loophole, which is completely eliminating the free market at gun shows, where if you want to sell granddad's gun to somebody who wants to buy it, you're not going to be able to do it unless you're a federal firearms license dealer. And they want to, did I say, yeah, high capacity magazines? They want to take your guns. Yeah, you can call it gun safety legislation all you want to. You can call it stamping out gun violence. You want to save the children, though. You want to get rid of gun violence, don't you? Yeah, we want to save children, and we want, well, there's no such thing as gun violence, but there's no way the government's going to do it. So he's saying, this isn't what Kamala wants to do. She doesn't want to take your guns. She wants to take your guns. Listen.
Is not true, but that fear tactic right there is as old as I am. As long as I've been on this planet, I've heard Republicans saying that Democrats were going to take your guns, and it's never happened because that's not what we're about.
What's the assault weapons ban? What's the high capacity magazine restriction? What are the gun bans instituted in New York, New Jersey, Chicago? What is that? That's a violation of your Second Amendment rights. That is taking people's guns. That's criminalizing people who want a gun to protect themselves. You know, I'm not going to sit here and call this guy names, but I'm going to call it like it is. He's being a hypocrite. He's lying. He's not being honest. Is he doing it wittingly or unwittingly? Well, because there's a dollar sign and a dollar amount and a paycheck attached to what he's doing, it's hard for me to believe that he's not doing it so that he can get a paycheck, so that he can appeal to his audience, so he can get a bigger subscriber base and get more money coming in. He's lying.
We're about is having some common sense. We're talking about weapons that can take away the lives of people in a matter of seconds. And you guys think that just any idiot should be allowed to have it. And
so a handgun can't be used to take away a life in the matter of seconds. And let me get this straight. Let me just, like, we hear people going, no, the guns are what's killing people. You remember that senator? What was his name? Crud. What was that guy's name? I'm gonna see if I can find this clip. But he literally said in a CNN town hall that guns are what is going to do the killing. He literally is basically saying inanimate objects are what is going to do the killing. Let me see if I've got this in my library. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. Oh, yeah.
When you get right down to it, the gun is what is going to do the killing.
I want you to see him say this. This is a Republican senator. If you guys can remember his name, let me know, but let me see if I can pull it up on the screen for you. I wasn't expecting to play this, so I wasn't prepared, but it just jumped into my mind, and I think it's appropriate for this conversation. Let me pull it over here, expand that. Isn't his name Nelson or something like that? I think he was a senator from Florida. Listen.
When you get right down to it, the gun is what is going to do the killing.
When you get right down to it, the coffee mug is what is going to do the killing. Is that ludicrous? When you get right down to it, the hammer is what is going to do the killing. Unfrickin' believable. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there are actually people out there who believe that rhetoric. They really believe that an inanimate object is going to do the killing. They really believe there's something called gun violence, and they really believe that guns take away lives. Was he Texas or Florida? Does anybody remember who this guy was? I just cannot for the life of me remember what this guy's name was or is. I don't even know if he's still alive. This was back during the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting, and this was a CNN town hall where they had, a bunch of the survivors up there who were pushing the March for Our Lives, which is really March Against Our Rights. Bill Nelson, wasn't he from Florida? Yeah, Florida Senator Bill Nelson. Thank you, guys. But people actually believe this nonsense, and it truly is nonsense. And he's one of these guys who propagates the nonsense. He propagates he fuels and adds fuel to the fire of the euphemisms that blinds people with the propaganda and the public relations nonsense, and basically channels the mind of the simple-minded into the cattle chute of, if you get rid of your guns, you love kids. If you love kids, you're going to get rid of your guns. That's the only way we can solve this problem. But wait, the insanity goes even further with this guy.
Anything we propose, No matter what it is, it's a violation of the Second Amendment. Well, I would argue all day long and have made the argument that no, it's not at all.
Oh, so what he's saying, he can't even be consistent, guys. So what you're saying, when the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, and then you lay down a gun law that criminalizes innocent Americans who haven't done anything wrong, and which is literally the definition of infringement. So you're not infringing while you're infringing. They can't even make any sense. There's no logical sense, and there's no moral foundation from which they try to make their points.
You guys just stick to the line about shall not be infringed, but you never go over the well-regulated militia part.
Let's go over the well-regulated militia part. I think you'll find this very interesting because this actually comes from CNN. I wonder if it still comes up. What does the last time the thing that first came up was an interesting article from CNN. I don't want to read the Heritage Foundation. I'd rather read something that lends a little bit of. Oh yeah. This is a screen capture from CNN Politics. Check this out. 27 words deconstructing the Second Amendment. This is from CNN, and this is from August 11th, 2016. Let me expand this for you so you can see it. It's only a sentence long, 27 words that barely make up a full line of the Bill of Rights. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And yet for years, those 27 brief words have been the source of contentious debate, seen by some as inalienable protection against tyranny, by others as a dangerous anachronism. Here's a look at the Second Amendment, its phrases. Okay, so let's just get into it. What did it mean to be well-regulated? Let's talk about this, because actually what CNN says right here is in accordance with the historical record on what well-regulated means. Because what Democrats like Tennessee Brando say, where is Tennessee Brando? What Tennessee Brando says is that well-regulated equals or is synonymous with the government regulating what you can and can't have. And if you know anything about the Founding Fathers, if you know anything about the Declaration of Independence, if you know anything about the Second Amendment or any part of the Bill of Rights, they were there to limit the power of the federal government, not to give them power for the most part. So look what it says. Again, this is the Counterfeit News Network saying this. What did it mean to be well-regulated? One of the biggest challenges in interpreting a centuries-old document is that the meanings of words change or diverge. Well-regulated in the 18th century tended to be something like well-organized, well-armed, well-disciplined. It didn't mean regulation in the sense that we use it now, in that it's not about the regulatory state. There's been nuance there. It means the militia was in an effective shape to fight. Isn't that interesting? So what if we replaced well-regulated with well-armed? Then it would read, a well-armed militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And even if regulated meant that the militia is to be regulated by the federal government, that doesn't wipe away the right of the people to keep and bear arms, even though people like this want it to mean that.
Want to have that conversation. I don't think the Founding Fathers meant just any jackass can have one of these and run around town with it.
Actually, the Founding Fathers said what they said, and it is an unalienable right: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, property. And one of the pieces of your property can be a coffee mug or a wallet or a keyboard or a hammer or a stapler or an AR-15, AK-47 high capacity magazine, fully automatic or semi-automatic, or revolver. You can have whatever your money can buy as long as you acquired that through honest means, like somebody gave it to you or you purchased it, not that you stole it. So if you own a piece of property that you spent your time and laboring energies to acquire, nobody's got the right to remove that property from you, no matter what some other psychopath does with the same kind of property that you happen to own. Say you own what if school shoot? Ask yourself this question on the logical plane. What if from this point on, school shootings only involved .357 Magnums? Are they going to outlaw 357 Magnums? Well, by their, let's say that the next 300 school shootings, averaging 5 people dead and 2 wounded, every single school shooting, but every one of them, they happen to use a 357 Magnum or, a Desert Eagle or a Glock 22 or a 9mm. But if that's all they were using, would they get together and go, we've got to ban these weapons of war, these machines of destruction that should only be on the battlefields. They shouldn't be in schools. No, they just want to use the AR-15 and the AK-47 as a smokescreen to put their foot in the door so that they can swing it open and take everything, require registration of every piece of property. And what precedes confiscation? Well, we know what it is. It's that list. It's the list with your name on it, showing how many guns you have, has their serial numbers. So we can come and get it whenever we want it, because we know you got it because you're on a list. And what facilitates that list? Universal background checks. Thank you, NRA. If it wasn't for the NRA, we wouldn't have the NICS instant background check system, says Wayne LaPierre. He boasts about it. He brags about it. Wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the NRA. That makes NRA an enemy of the Second Amendment, which really means the NRA is your enemy and my enemy.
It's absolutely disgusting, but that's where their loyalty lies. Their loyalty is to the guns. And right here, Donald Trump just says it out loud.
You know, when I was president, I totally protected the guns. And I think it's very...
Yeah, by instituting bump stock bans and red flag laws and telling Mike across the table, I don't know, Mike, I like take the guns first and due process second. You totally protected the guns, you Yahoo.
Very important. And I know I take some heat sometimes for it, but you have to have safety. You have to have, when the bad guy walks in with a gun, you got to have some way of protecting yourself.
That's true. That's true.
That would be...
Trump's a liar, but what he just said there is true.
You would see crime go up at levels that you've never seen. When people say on the side of the house, this house has guns, we will use the guns, they say, let's pass. We'll go.
That's true. Criminals, if they want anything, they want an easy, comfortable, non-threatening work environment where they can be in total control. If they want to, if they're going to scour a neighborhood and they're going to break into houses, they're going to pick the houses they think are inhabited by Democrats who hate guns and want to take guns away from the rest of us. Now, they might get a surprise by breaking down the door. Somebody's got a shotgun on the other side, but that's not likely. But you're not going to go into a house where you know that somebody likes their guns and is a champion of the Second Amendment. You would be absolutely stupid to do that, because what you want to do is you want to go in without any kind of resistance. You want to steal the stuff. You want to threaten lives. You want to take lives if it means to be taken, but you want to walk out without harm so you can spend your loot on something that's going to benefit your life.
Someplace else. So
Trump's right here.
You have to have them. And for 4 years.
Yeah. It reminds me of a meme that I once saw. It says something like, my neighbor's a Democrat and hates guns. Visit them first.
And, as you know, the NRA endorsed me very powerfully every time I ran.
I would not brag about that, man. Every
time. My sons are members, and I guess indirectly I'm a member too. But they gave me the strongest of endorsements, and that's against very strong competition. People that felt the same way. No, you have to have.
Okay, that's why we do a live stream. Trump's a liar. You lie. So, no, let me just tell you, Mexico's going to pay for the wall. No, they didn't. They didn't pay for the wall. He says he built hundreds of miles of the wall. He didn't. He only repaired like 56 to 80 miles of it with brand new wall. The other stuff got just fixed. He didn't even come close to sealing the entire border like he said he was going to do. He said he was going to champion the cause of guns, but he came out with a bump stock ban, which criminalized tens of millions of Americans who happen to have guns. He calls himself the father of the VAXX. He gave trillions, not billions. He gave trillions to the big pharma industrial complex, to the military industrial complex. He dropped 46 bombs a day during every single day of his presidency, even more than Obama did. Killed more people, reportedly, according to the air power summary from the Pentagon. I mean, that's just a fraction of the things that Trump said and the things that Trump lied about. Trump just bragged yesterday during a live stream that he ran America like he runs his own businesses. Let me know do you guys know how many times Trump himself has gone bankrupt? He doesn't even know how to run a business. Two times he went bankrupt was for casinos. If the house always wins, how can you run a casino into the ground where you got to borrow money from the Rothschilds banking cartel? That's what he did back in the 1990s with Taj Mahal. He got underwater financially. He had to look for somebody to bail him out. And here comes Wilbur Ross from the Rothschilds, Inc. You know for a fact that Obama did that or Clinton did that. That's all you would need to hear about him to know that they're in the back pocket of the central banking cartel. Oh, another thing, Trump wrecked our dollar. He wrecked the value of the dollar by hyperinflating the currency. How did he do that? Through the Stimulus Act. It's supposed to be 2.2 trillion. He wrote down 6.2 and said, I've never signed anything with a T on it before. And he looked back over at Steve Mnuchin and just started laughing. So yeah, Trump is a liar. Trump is a psychopath, but so is Kamala Harris. I'm not sitting here taking sides. The side I want to take is the truth, and that's the hill I'm going to die on. If anybody's got a problem with that, hey, I'm open to criticism. Let's talk about it. But so far, the only thing that Trump said that was wrong is accepting the backing of the NRA, because a thief is not going to come to your house if he knows that you're heavily armed and you know how to use your guns. And it's likely that you've trained your family to have a strategy and a plan if somebody broke in. And that strategy and plan is if anybody crosses the threshold of our abode, he doesn't walk out or he doesn't leave under his own power. He's going to be carted out with a blanket over his face.
You have to have that right. Our Second Amendment is a very important right, and it has to be protected.
He is so proud to have their endorsement, and he's proud of the fact that he done absolutely nothing to protect our children and everything to protect the guns. That's where
he has not done everything to protect the guns. This guy is an abject lunatic. Maybe I don't know.
Their loyalty lies, and they say it straight out loud. They don't even try to hide it anymore. And I'm not even going to play y'all the clip of Tim Burchett here in Tennessee going, we can't fix it. My daddy told me if somebody's going to hurt you, they're going to hurt you. Ain't nothing we can do about it. I'm not going to play that one because I'm sick and tired of hearing his voice, but I am going to play you this little lunatic because, again, you need to remember what it is we're up against.
Picture this. You're sitting at home alone watching.
Sorry about that. I'm on Google and I don't have my ad blocker on. Okay, so now he's going to play a clip of Lauren Boebert. Now, if let's see, she's on her way to Carbondale, Colorado, because there's a March for Our Lives, which is really March Against Your Rights, and really it's a march against their own rights. You know what March for Your Lives is actually saying? Before I play Lauren Boebert in here, March for Our Lives, the people who participate in that, they're marching against their own rights. They're actually saying, Big Daddy government, I want you to restrict what I can buy. I want you to make a law that makes me a criminal. And I want you to make a law that makes everybody else who's innocent a criminal. It's truly insane.
I am on my way to Carbondale, Colorado. There's supposedly an organized march, the March for Our Lives, that's going to take place. And I'm really interested to see if people know what they're marching for. I guess this is supposed to be the beginning of people speaking out to take away our Second Amendment rights. And I'm not happy about it. If this is really a march for our lives, let's march against abortion, because I was looking at statistics and there are nearly 1 million abortions per year in America. 1 million. Do you know how many gun-related deaths there are in America per year?
She caught herself. Gun-violent death, because there are no gun-violent deaths, just like there are no hammer-violent death or knife-violent deaths. There are deaths where people used a tool called a gun.
15,000. A drop in the bucket, I'd say.
So yeah, it's just a drop in the bucket. That's all it is. And she compares it to abortion. Does she not realize she doesn't have an argument there? Because abortion is a woman's right. And it was her constitutional right up until Donald Trump stacked the Supreme Court and got it taken away from them. It is their right to choose what they do with their own bodies.
It's their right to choose. See, here's the hypocritical part of this and the inconsistent part. On the one hand, they say a woman has the right to choose what she can do with her own body. Well, what if that woman happened to choose this for her own body? Every day I go out, I'm going to strap on my back an AR-15, and I'm going to have on a side holster a Glock 22 40 caliber semi-automatic handgun. What if she wanted to do that with her body? You know, women, you can do whatever you want to with your own body. You don't have to tell, you don't have to report anything. You know, it's not, the government should not be involved in the abortion issue. The government should not be involved in the education issue. By the way, with education, I'll get back with that in a second. But on the education, the Department of Education, now I've seen different numbers on this and they're wildly varying. Says in 2022 to 2023, state, local, and federal funding for K through 12 schools was roughly $127 billion compared to roughly $133 billion in 2021 through 2022. And they're estimating that it can go as high as $173 billion by 2029. That is a boatload of money for a completely failed project that is called the public school system. So when we get back to this guy right here, you have the right to do with your own body, except what I say you can't do with your own body. You can't strap that Kalashnikov on the back with that banana clip, banana magazine. You can't have that S&K, or you can't have that sidearm on you. You can't carry that 50 caliber Desert Eagle with you in your purse, which, you know, that's probably not strategically wise because it's a pretty big gun, very heavy. You know, use a subcompact or something like that. But you can't do that. But you can definitely off a little baby in your womb. It's just backwards. It's sinister. It's disgusting. It's about as evil as you can possibly get. And this is what they want the government to do. They want you to be limited in your freedoms as long as it's an issue that they agree with. You having a firearm or an arsenal of firearms and hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammunition has nothing to do with the person on psychotropic drugs or on big pharma medication or has been declared mentally unstable, wreaking havoc on a school, even if the school is in your own neighborhood, let alone if it's in another state. It has nothing to do with you. Therefore, whatever punishment they're going to exact on that person has nothing to do with you. And it doesn't matter if they're wearing the same kind of shirt. Oh, everybody who has a Pink Floyd shirt, we're going to go ahead and haul them in because this guy who did this heinous act had a Pink Floyd shirt. Oh, let's make it apples and apples. Let's say he took the Pink Floyd shirt and he was strangling people with it. Now you're going to outlaw Pink Floyd shirts and criminalize everybody who owns a Pink Floyd shirt? What if there was this massive outbreak of people being strangled by Pink Floyd shirts? It would be more clearly ludicrous to ban Pink Floyd shirts and criminalize everybody who had a Pink Floyd shirt in their closet and then fund the federal government to, you know, break into houses to make sure you didn't have a Pink Floyd shirt in your closet. Because, you know, those Pink Floyd shirts, they'll just hop right off the hanger and find themselves around somebody's neck real nice and tight like. That's how dumb it is.
I cannot compare that to a maniac walking in to a classroom and taking down innocent children and teachers. You cannot compare those two things. But again, I showed you those clips to remind us of what it is.
You actually can compare those two things because in both cases, a death results. You know, what do you call the life inside of a womb? What do you call? I don't care if you call it a fetus or a baby or whatever, but is it life? Is it life? You have to say yes. It's a life. It's living. They're living cells, or at the very least, they're living cells, right? Yeah, they're living cells. Okay, what kind of living cells are they? Are they animal, vegetable, mineral? Is it a giraffe cell? Is it a walrus cell? Is it a poison ivy cell? No, it's a human cell. So if it's a human cell, then it's a human life. So you're saying it's okay to extinguish a human life over here, but it's not okay to extinguish a human life if they're 14, 15, 16 years old. There's such gross inconsistency with that.
We're up against, and to realize that we are the adults in the room and we're the ones that's going to have to take the bull by the horns and do something because they're clearly not.
We got to grab the bulls by the horns and do something. What is the something you want to do? We want to create legislation. What is the legislation going to say? We're going to ban AR-15s, AK-47s, assault rifles. What's an assault rifle? It's a tool that can kill a whole lot of people real fast. Well, have you ever seen Have you ever seen a Glock with a 100-round drum set to auto? Have you ever seen that? Do you want to take those too? Oh, and by the way, the AR-15 is a semi-auto, but so is the Ruger Mini 14, but it doesn't look black and scary like you're used to looking at it. Has the same characteristics, shoots the exact same bullet. The projectile travels 3,200 feet per second, just like from the AR-15. But I don't hear you wanting to take those because you have an agenda. You want to weave a narrative, and he's the guy that's always talking about being against fear porn, and he's always trying to gin up the fear porn in his democratically controlled propaganda campaigns.
And I'm so glad that we have someone like Kamala Harris just coming out here and being truthful and honest about it, that, folks, it does not have to be this way. Roll the clip.
So before I begin, I do want to say a few words.
Listen to this.
This tragic shooting that took place this morning.
Oh, it's tragic. Is it so tragic that you really want to do something about it, Kamala? Because if you really wanted to do something about it, then long ago, you and your ilk would have investigated Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, who admitted to offing at least 500,000 kids on national TV and said it was worth it. She didn't just say she did it. She didn't say, yeah, it's kind of regrettable. She said, yeah, it's a hard choice, but we think it's worth it. We think our strategy of imposing sanctions on another nation that resulted in the death of 500,000 kids was worth it. But you guys aren't going to investigate yourselves. And even if you do, you're going to get back and say, well, we found no wrongdoing. But you're going to be against a mass shooting on American soil. And then you're going to use that as a springboard to stand in the graves of children so you can criminalize the rest of us. That's how evil this is. And if you want to talk about what it really is, that is literally what it is. The U.S. government has been, for at least the last 5 or 6 or 7 decades, even longer, a death cult. So the members of the death cult are saying, in order for us to stop the death that's going on in the public school system, we need to just come in and take your guns, which means we need to criminalize you. And if we ever find out that you have an AR-15, we're gonna confiscate your property. We're gonna put you on a red flag law list. We're gonna haul your ass into court where you're never gonna be able to pay for the legal fees because we're gonna run you through the ringer, and then we're gonna throw you into a 6x6 cage. That's how evil and psychopathic and deadly this whole thing is.
Georgia, we're still gathering information about what happened, but we know that there were multiple fatalities and injuries. And you know, our hearts are with all the students, the teachers, and their families, of course.
What?
And we are grateful to the first responders and the law enforcement that were on.
Don't say you're going to pray. You're going to keep us in your prayers, because Tennessee Brando doesn't like that when Republicans say it.
On the scene, but this is just a senseless tragedy on top of so many senseless tragedies. And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is. We've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all.
Then start with Washington's District of Criminals, because the gun violence actually comes out of there. You guys are writing bills and you're sending boatloads, billions of dollars worth of weaponry to Ukraine, to Israel. I mean, if it wasn't for the U.S. government, according to Secretary Hillary Clinton, we wouldn't have had the Mujahideen, and we wouldn't have had all the problems that we had. Even if you trace back to what happened with Reagan and the Iran-Contra affair, we were funding and arming people that we knew were bad actors. You're not against guns. You're absolutely for guns. You're swimming in guns, and you're going to tell us we can't have them while you're being protected by the same guns you want to criminalize for the rest of us?
You know, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. So we will continue, of course, to send our prayers and our thoughts to the family.
Oh, no, prayers and thoughts. Tennessee Brando doesn't like that. Oh, wait a second. He only likes it when prayers and thoughts come from Democrats. You frickin' hypocrites.
And all those who were affected, including, you know, I'm going off script right now, but listen, I mean, you know,
that's dangerous.
Last year, I started a college tour. And I traveled our country meeting with our young leaders, right? And so it was college-age young leaders. So I did trade schools, colleges, universities, community colleges. By the way, I love Gen Z. I just love Gen Z.
Just love
But I'll
them.
tell you, one of the things I asked every time I went to the auditorium, and it would be filled with these young leaders, students, and I'd ask them, raise your hand if at any point between kindergarten and 12th grade, you had to endure an active shooter drill. And for the young leaders who are here who are raising their hand, I'm telling you, every time the auditorium was packed and almost every hand went up. You know, a lot of us, I'll speak about myself, you know, we had, I grew up in California, earthquake drills, we had fire drills, but our kids are sitting in a classroom where they should be fulfilling their God-given potential, and some part of their big, beautiful brain is concerned about a shooter busting through the door of the classroom. It does not have to be this way.
I agree. So those college students who are adults, who have the unalienable right to keep and bear arms, should be left alone to have whatever arm they want. And then they should advertise it on the door of every classroom. Hey, just wanted to let you know, if you come at us with one of your barrels, you're going to have 50 barrels staring back in your face, and you're not going to live through the experience. How many school shootings do you think are going to happen after that? We not only carry with expert knowledge of what that firearm is, because we also have class on campus on how to handle a gun and how to aim properly. And we have some excellent marksmen. So if you'd like to come into our classroom, Mr. Gunman, and take lives, you probably won't be able to pull the trigger the very first time.
It does not have to be this way.
Hi, Mark Barden at Sandy Hook Promise here.
Oh my gosh, this guy.
When the gunman...
Okay, I can't even talk about this. I can't talk about SH. I got to skip this. I don't want to. I want to talk about it, but wow, we're getting an ad we're getting a paid ad promoting the evil of taking away your property in violation of your consent because something bad happened in a school in a state that you probably aren't even inhabiting. I was going to say citizen of, but you're not a citizen. You know how I know you're not a citizen? Because you're not a subject. That means nobody has the right to rule you, and you don't have the obligation to bow down to any throne. So yeah, I'm going to go and skip this. But yeah, if you start mentioning SH, it tends to end with some troublesome outcomes. Oops, what happened?
But unfortunately it is, because we have a group of people who will not compromise on this issue at all.
Ain't never going to compromise. You don't compromise with tyranny. You don't try to rationalize with tyrants. That's not how this life works.
They hear us say that we want some common sense gun laws and we have to do something about this, and they immediately spin it that we're coming after the guns. I do not support taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. I believe everyone should have a right to protect themselves, but I truly believe that we need to stop living by one sentence that was written over 200 years ago by men who did not have the weapons that we have today. I really believe that if the founding fathers could come back today and see the mess that we're in, they may say, hey, wait a minute, let us explain that well-regulated militia part here. This is not what we meant.
I haven't seen
but
this part.
But as long as they're unwilling to compromise, we're always going to be in this boat. And as long as they write it off as facts of life and we can't.
By the way, his compromise equals you need to give up your guns, while he's saying I don't want to take your guns. He's saying I don't want to take your guns, while he's saying I want to take your guns. I want to eliminate that shall not be infringed, that pesky shall not be infringed part.
Oh, that's just a drop in the bucket. Then we're always going to be right here. And that's what sucks so bad about it. They will not listen to any compromise whatsoever. They sit and stoke the fires and the flames and the hatred and the cruelty and the rhetoric, and then sit back and wonder why it's happening. It's
so funny how it's so easy for them to shove it off on damn Republicans. That MAGA crowd, man, they're psychopaths. They're cult. This very guy who is a cult member for Kamala Harris is calling Team MAGA cult members for following Donald Trump, which I agree. They are cult members for following Donald Trump and not questioning and shelving their cognitive dissonance when he's clearly working for the Zio International Banking Cartel, just as this guy is also a card-carrying member of the cult of personality for Kamala Harris, who's also a Zio central banking shill who's going to demolish the value of the dollar, who's going to institute the red flag laws just like Donald Trump.
So frustrating. And as I was sitting there listening to Kamala Harris talk about, the fire drills and the tornado drills, I got to thinking back. I graduated in 98, and school shootings were just starting to kind of become mainstream, as bad as I hate to put it that way. But we never had the active shooter drills. We did have the tornado drills, what to do in case of a tornado. But that's just an act of Mother Nature. That's something that is a fact of life. Tornadoes are going to happen, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it other than know what to do in the situation that one were to hit. But this is something that's being carried out by human beings. This isn't some act of Mother Nature. This is something that's being carried out by human beings. So
we can prepare for acts. What he's saying is we can prepare for acts of God, but there's no way we can prepare for acts of human beings, man. That's just a whole different level, man. God, tornadoes, earthquakes, we can prepare for that. We cannot prepare for the heinous acts of human beings. What the frick? And it's so simple too. It's like, what was that school? Oh, that's right. Uvalde, where 376 law enforcement agents from 3 different departments stood down and did absolutely nothing while there was an active shooter in a classroom, while victims of that active shooter were calling into 911 saying, if you don't get in here, we're all dead. And they did absolutely nothing. Come to find out that the door they were standing outside of was actually unlocked. Come to find out that the gunman was able to walk into the school because a side door was left ajar by a teacher. Like, if you're going to have public schools, then how about while the school is in session, you lock everything up so that nobody can come in, and make it, if they were going to come in one secure door where they come into one door, but then they're in a little locked facility where you can check to see if they got a gun or not. No security required at that point. And I'm not even advocating for public schools, but I'm saying if you're going to have public schools, and I'm sure they're going to be with us a long time, as much of a failed project as it is, there are some common sense things that you can do that doesn't necessitate criminalizing tens of millions of Americans who happen to have a firearm that some psychopath used in a school somewhere.
Beings should be able to work on this problem, and human beings should come together to fix it. If you truly care about life and you're truly pro-life, you would put the politics aside and say, you know what, this ain't got a damn thing to do with Democrats versus Republicans, liberals versus conservatives. This should be the one argument that brings us all together. This should be the one, because this involves our children. And we should all want our children to be able to go to school, and we should want to be able to drop them off at school without having to sit there and go, well, I hope they make it. I hope they make it home to me today.
There's so much wrong with what he just said, but I'm just going to let it keep on going.
Have people on the other side of the aisle that just thinks more guns is the answer. And as long as those people are
Brian can't stay on topic. Or, hey, Octagon, you want to come on? You want to come on board? Can't stay on topic. The topic is gun control. The topic is Democrat versus Republican. The topic is calling people names and getting lost in the minutia of, hey, you know what? Nobody's got the right to violate your rights. See, I agree with the Second Amendment up to a certain point, but the actual point is not that you have the right to keep and bear arms, that nobody has the right to keep you from keeping and bearing arms. And that's what this guy and Kamala Harris and the Democrats and a lot of Republicans want to do under gun safety legislation. That is the topic of this live stream.
Willing to compromise. We're going to be right here.
The topic is nonsense. All right. You know what? Okay. I've got 7 minutes. I don't think he's going to say anything. I've got 7 minutes. Who's interested in talking about this topic? We got to stay with the topic. If you do, I've got an invite link. Put a 1 in the room if you're interested in doing that. We can do a call in for the next 7 minutes. I got an appointment that I got to keep. And miles to go before I sleep. Here is the invitation link. We have to stay on this topic, though. Yeah, you've already just affirmed my feeling on Leos. Yeah, just absolute cowards. When you have the firepower and you have the funding and then you do absolutely nothing and you keep the parents out who are trying to go in and get their kids, that's a whole new level of evil, in my opinion. So there's the link. I especially want to talk to you if you disagree with me. I think you're unfamiliar with libertarian logic. Well, I just want to hear Octagon's point. I especially want to hear from you if you disagree. The link is in the chat right there. Pretty interesting that CNN actually put this out. What's up, Hank Hill? I'm gonna give everybody a minute. So Hank Hill, what you got?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say that everybody wants to control their neighbors and nobody wants to be responsible for themselves. They want daddy government to take care of them and to fix all their little problems. Everybody wants to be ruled and have the boot on their neck and on their neighbor's neck, and nobody wants to sink or swim anymore.
A freaking man. I could not agree with you more. That's exactly what's going on. See, because we don't have a reputation-based society, people depend on somebody else to keep them safe, to lower gas prices and all that kind of stuff, but nobody wants to take the responsibility to do the things that they need to do for themselves. Good point, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I just want to say, be honorable. It's not about black and white. It's about wrong or right.
Amen.
Yeah, you're right.
You cut out, but I think you said, did you just say it's not about black or white? It's about wrong or right?
That's right. Correct.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Hey, I appreciate it. We're going to go to Work for Liberty. What's up, Work for Liberty? How you doing, man?
Hey, Brian. How's it going?
Good. What you got?
It's a little loud. I apologize. I'm working right now. But, yeah, great topic. The main reason, the only reason really these political parasites want to come after the guns is so they can exercise no holds barred tyranny over the individual and our sovereignty as individuals. I mean, that's what it all boils down to. And every time I see a gun grab like this, that's what I'm thinking of. They're coming after guns so that we have no power whatsoever as individuals to stand up against government tyranny. So all this other noise surrounding the topic is just that. It's just noise to cover up that fact. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you. I agree. Yeah, and I always say this, and it sounds cliche, but it's true. The price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance. By the way, I put the link in there if you want to come on board. I've got 3 minutes. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. The way we secure oppression is by sitting on our hands and doing nothing, just letting these people run roughshod over us and make laws and make us less free. And then people start believing in the legal versus illegal. This politician has the legitimate right to make rules against me, and if I step out of line, I should be punished, or I broke a law because I went 7 miles an hour over the speed limit. It is all complete nonsense. And the empire of lies, it should not be a mystery that the empire of lies is built on lies. Go ahead, Overs. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Brian? Long time with you, man. Been with you since all the way back in the early days. And brother, I'm glad that you're letting me on. I just got to say, this is some hypocrisy. That's all it is. They know how to keep the kids safe. They know what to do to avoid this, but they allow it to happen so that they can throw their political wrenches into the whole system and make everybody, dumbfounded. And then because it's kids, it makes the population and everyone else easy to succumb to that peaceful slavery, which for me, I wish I could just pull my kids out of school, and homeschool them. But not everyone is equipped to do that. And, so we're stuck. And the thing is that you have these people that, are in charge that get elected, quote unquote. They don't do nothing but argue with each other on TV and, make things look good, for ratings. Nothing's getting done. And it's a shame because, kids' lives are at stake. People's lives are at stake. And, I think the people just need to just get up, get out, and start demanding things physically. Stop calling, stop emailing, get up, go to your representative's office, get some signs, get rowdy. It's time to do what our forefathers did to stop this. It's time to throw the tea into the water, Brian.
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent, but I don't think we should be begging our overlords. Hey, we need just a little bit more freedom. Could you make that possible for us? I think that our position should be, hey, make whatever
Get
laws
out.
you want to. I am not going to obey them. Whatever it doesn't matter. I'm taking
Yeah.
a moral stand, and if I go to jail for it, people are like, "How can you win?" It's like it's not really about winning or losing. It's not about dying or living. It's about while you're alive, are you just going to do the right thing, or are you just going to roll over?
Dangerous freedom, brother.
Amen, man. And hey, I appreciate you coming aboard. I got to get out of here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. You know what to do. But I got to go. Thanks for hanging out during this live stream. It really does help if you share this video, if you like this video before you get out of here. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.